die Feinde meinen, wir haben keine Eier. Wir haben Eier, aber wir zeigen sie nur nicht.
So you're talking about your mother's dad, your Opa on that side?
Yeah, my mother's dad, he took me on the bicycle rides, and he took me in the woods, showed me where the flowers grow, those little white, what they call them, those little white things.
I don't
Look
know.
like
Are they little weeds?
bells.
Oh, I'm not sure.
And it showed me where they were. He took me in the cow pastures to get those mushrooms. They call them Wiesen champions. And then they took me in the woods, and they had the Steinpilzen. There was all the different kind of mushrooms, and we collected them in a little basket. And then we took them home, and my grandmother sauteed them, and we ate them.
Oh, wow.
And I had to help him kill rabbits. You know, he raised rabbits to eat. And when he had a big old rabbit ready to eat, you know, to slaughter, he got it by the hind leg with a big old wooden club and broke his neck. We hung him up there next to the outside toilet, and we skinned him and fixed him up, and then we ate him.
How old were you when you were doing that?
5, 6 years old.
Wow.
7 years old.
That's crazy.
Yeah, that lasted for several years, you know. But all the time I was young. Well, we all lived close together. All within walking distance, you know. About 4 or 5 houses down, something like that.
That's not bad.
Yeah, I was close to my grandpa, my mother's dad, and he had a Helmut, the son from his second wife, Maria. And when they called me, I always called me Helmut first. You know, like I called you Stella sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
They called me Helmut, then they called me Gert. I was kind of mixed up.
Did you call both of your Opas Opa?
Yeah. Yeah, that was the standard name. Opa Franz and Opa Fritz.
Himmel, 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 Himmel.
Peter Sakrastai.
Where'd you learn that song?
We were kids. Himmel, Himmel, Himmel. Peter Sakrastai. Es wackelt die Wände, es husten die Flöhe. The walls are vibrating and the fleas are coughing.
Oh.
What do you call it? Fleas? Lies are coughing. Es wackelt die Wände, husten die Flöhe. A flow. I think a flow is a not a lice, it's a what they call the other ones. It's like a flow. Like
Tick?
What?
Tick?
No, a flow is it's a flea.
Oh, okay.
A flea.
I thought Flieger was a flea.
Flea, yeah, like a flea.
Oh, yeah.
My dad wanted to go in war too.
How old was he then?
He was he was born 1897, and that was 39. Let me say 40. He was 43 years old, and he was working in the defense industry, working on those Tiger tanks. Okay. In the next town, they had a plant where they put the Tiger tanks together, and he was working on the tracks. He told me, putting the tracks on or something. And he wanted to go to war. They all come from the war, and they tell all these war stories, and I have nothing to tell. And he felt kind of,
oh really?
Yeah, okay. Left out. He wouldn't have nothing interesting to tell.
So
he got an inferiority complex.
Instead of like wanting to defend your family or whatever.
No, that wasn't important. Well, that was when we came out of prison camp.
Yeah.
you know,
Do you remember?
they had those, what they call them, those cars, not passenger cars, so what the long, what
Like
you
the
see,
freight?
freight,
Yeah.
freight train. They had these sliding doors. There's view on a freight box cars.
Was that normal or just like you just?
No, we didn't deserve any better. But, you know,
Oh my gosh.
just get a bunch of people there piled up, 40 people in there.
Were you like? Was that a freight train that was already like going somewhere else and you
No,
just hopped on it, or
they
was it for y'all?
they told us you're going to be sent home.
Yeah.
We will send you home. So they left. When we got into prison, they closed the door because we would escape, see.
Mm-hmm.
But they said, we sent you home, they left the doors open. They said, nobody's crazy enough to jump out of that. They all want to go home, so they stayed in the plane.
Right.
Train. So they were very liberal. They opened up the doors and they put us enough food in there for a couple of days, sea rations and dried plums and corned beef and all that stuff. And so in France, we got all in the trains with this people, what, 40 people in the car. And they had the doors open, so we traveled to France, and then we had to stop in the train station to either get water or the coal or the wood or whatever. You know, we had to stop there. I had to stop over for a little. And that was in the train station.
Mm-hmm.
And there were some Frenchmen, they walking up and down. And they didn't, they didn't do nothing. And then just about when we were ready to go, you know, it's a long train that just goes real slow to start with. They all of a sudden came and said, you want trade cigarettes for soap? And we had a lot of Lifebuoy soap they gave us. That's kind of reddish looking disinfectant type of soap, you know. There was a GI soap, a big bar, and they came in a carton in a hard paper box. And we had plenty of that because they wanted us to be clean. So we carried it home. We had a bunch of those. And the French didn't have, and they knew we wanted, well, some of the people wanted to smoke, have cigarettes. So all of a sudden when the train just started ready to go, they came and said, you want to trade cigarettes for soap? They wanted soap. They didn't have soap. And they said, yeah. So I gave them one of those boxes of soap, Lifebuoy, and they gave me a carton of cigarettes. And then we were moving out, and they took off. When I opened it up, there were cigarettes, and they had hay in it. He rolled them in hay. He got the real soap, and I got screwed. So the next time we stopped, same thing happened again. And what I did, I took a knife, and I cut each end on the soap up, and I kept the center, and I put the first little slice in and put poop in there because we had a box where we pooped in, and I put the poop in it. And then I put that second place on top so it looked like there was real soap in there, and I closed it up. And the guy wanted to, when we trotted it up, he said, you want cigarettes for soap? He said, sure. So I gave him that poop, and he gave me real cigarettes.
Did you feel bad?
And he opened it up, you know, and I looked out. He was right, we were getting out of the train. He opened up and tried to get the soap out, and he tried to shake the soap, and all the poop got in his hand. And he came running down, yelling and screaming. He said, goodbye. He said, talk to your buddy on the other station.
That is so funny.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
And the funny thing, that wasn't funny, it was terrible. See, they knew we'd be about 2 days on the road from France to Dusseldorf, and they gave us enough food. You know, we were always hungry. We just got ration, got 1,200 calories a day. And that was the minimum to Geneva Convention. You had to get the GIs supposed to, I mean, the president was supposed to get at least 1,200 calories, and that's what we got. And so all of a sudden they say for the 2 days they gave us enough provisions to last for 2. They gave us a big thing, corned beef. They gave us several boxes of fried plums, and they gave us crackers and bread and all kind of stuff to eat, you know, and marmalade and butter. And they said, be careful, don't eat it all at one time. You know, we were hungry. We thought we'd devour ourselves soon we get it. We don't worry about the next day or
Right.
two. And they told us don't do that because they knew it was going to be bad, get diarrhea, you know, because our body wasn't
Yeah, not used to it.
used to
Yeah.
it. Well, we didn't pay no attention what they said. Man, as soon as we got that food, man, it was gone. And everybody got the diarrhea.
Oh no.
And they had to stop right in France, in the countryside. I remember that so well. There was flat sand, and there was a little big grassy bank, and then there was a field up there. And they stopped, and they say a comfort stop. And there must have been about 500 GIs in that train. And they stopped, and everybody went out, dropped their pants right along that ridge there, and pooped and pooped and pooped.
Oh, gross.
And there must have been a million poops.
Oh my gosh.
I don't know if I told you that on one New Year's Eve, I celebrated with my buddy Carl Berger. He lived with Ursula's dad. They all lived in a big house out in the cow pastures, you know, off of town a little bit. And the Bergers lived downstairs. Uncle Rudy, you know, Ursula's dad, they lived upstairs. And the other was a couple. They had no children. Their name was Bershman, and they lived upstairs too. And that New Year's Eve, Carl and I was there in the house, and we always trying to figure out to do something drastic.
Right.
And there was no light in the hallway when you go upstairs. It was pitch dark in there. Let me see the truck coming right here. Okay. And Carl had a bedroom downstairs off the hallway where the stairs came down, and we were in the dark there, and somehow the Mrs. Bershman and her husband were coming down the stairs in the dark. See, they knew how to go in the dark because they lived there, you know. They wanted to go down to Burgers for New Year's party or something. And we were in there, and it was absolutely dark. And Carl stood in the stairways, and she walked right into him in the pitch dark, and he grabbed her and screamed, and she had a damn fit.
Oh no.
I thought she's going to learn to fly. I mean, she screamed. Her husband was behind her, and she did not what in the world, grabbed her, and she couldn't tell.
Yeah.
And I was behind him, standing down there, and she just screamed and screamed. She just couldn't quit. And Carl and I, we said, we better get the heck out of here. If she finds out who that was, we're going to be in trouble. And in the dark, we disappeared in his bedroom and locked the door. And she was still yelling outside. They finally came out, you know, tried to open the door, turn the lights on, see what was going on. And Carl and I were scared. This guy in his bedroom. And that still was high off the floor. They had a window off the floor, but that was about still 6 feet off the floor, off the ground.
Yeah.
And we didn't want to come out. All of a sudden, I had to go to the bathroom. I had to pee, and I wasn't about to get out of there. So what I did, I took my pants off, and I stepped on the windowsill. And those German windows, they have a lower window, a big lower window, then they have what they call the Oberlicht, the overlight. That's a bar. It's like a course, and they have two little windows on top. You can open those just for ventilation. But that bar course there between the regular light and windows and the top window, that was shorter than I was. That was about 4 feet or 5 foot high, and I was close to 6 feet. And I stood there, and so I had to put my head down below that bar, below that upper window, and then I said, I'm gonna pee, and I was kind of bending over real bad, you know, and peeing, but I didn't hear it splash.
You know, so I thought it was flash. And then all of a sudden I went back and stood up straight. And what I done, I had a nice white shirt on, button up, and I peed inside of my shirt. And I just put it in there, and then when I stood up, it came up all over me, the front.
Oh no.
And I was a mess. And I don't remember what I did after that, but I remember that, you know, that part of it. I guess I must have cleaned up eventually or something. But I was full of pee from the belly button all the way down to my legs.
That is so funny. How old were you?
Oh, that was after World War. I was about, let's see, I came back, I was 18, 19 or 20 or something around there.
Yeah.
20, 21 maybe. My most carefree, enjoyable times was from the time I came back from prison camp till I came to the United States.
Okay.
And that's from...
Like you were
from
19?
Yeah, from September 45 till February 52.
Okay.
That was the most carefree, enjoyable times, you know, with dating and buddies in Emerson, Michigan, and Kurt, you know, we all were together and we dated and danced and had a good time and carefree. We all had jobs, you know, so we were kind of carefree.
Een Ehren splitten lauten boom und wurde big in Holland gehauen und alles kaputt.